Let's jump into 2 Nephi chapter 4. We're right after the death of Lehi.
Yeah.
This pivotal moment when the family who journeyed from Jerusalem to a whole new promised land are now facing the future without their prophet leader.
Right.
And chapter 4 gives us not one,
Yeah.
but two powerful narratives woven together.
I love that.
Lehi's last blessings on his family.
Right.
And then Nephi's incredibly personal account of his own spiritual highs and lows.
Yeah. What's really striking to me is how those two parts work together.
Okay.
You start with Lehi, this powerful patriarch, laying out these blessings for his descendants. But it's not just, hey, good things are coming your way no matter what.
Right.
He makes it very clear in verse 4 that there's a huge if involved.
Okay.
He says, inasmuch as ye shall keep my commandments, ye shall prosper in the land, and inasmuch as you will not keep my commandments, ye shall be cut off from my presence.
Wow.
Prosperity is directly tied to obedience to God.
And it's like he customizes the blessings for each part of the family.
Yeah.
Laman and Lemuel get their own message.
Right.
Then Ishmael's sons. And then there's Sam.
Right.
Specifically mentioned in verse 11.
Yeah.
Who's promised inheritance alongside Nephi.
Yeah, you can already see the seeds of unity and division being planted there.
Oh, totally.
Which is such a major theme throughout the Book of Mormon.
Huge.
It's easy to just kind of read over that detail about Sam.
Yeah.
But I think it tells us a lot about Lehi's hopes for his family.
Okay.
Remember, he's not just concerned with his own children.
Right.
He's looking generations ahead. He's laying the foundation for a whole people.
Wow.
And he knows that their success hinges on their unity and their faithfulness to God.
It makes you think about the blessings that we're promised too.
Yeah.
And whether we're really doing our part to live in a way that allows those blessings to flow into our lives.
Yeah.
But then we shift gears dramatically.
We do.
We go from Lehi's powerful, almost kingly pronouncements to Nephi's very raw, emotional journal entry.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Nephi doesn't shy away from the hard stuff.
Yeah.
He lays it all out there. Temptation, sin, anger, doubt. That constant struggle between what we want to do and what we know is right.
Right.
He even says in verses 17 and 18,
Okay.
"O wretched man that I am.
Wow.
Yeah, my heart sorroweth because of my flesh. My soul grieveth because of mine iniquities. I am encompassed about because of the temptations and the sins which do so easily beset me." It's so honest.
It's so real.
And relatable.
Relatable is an understatement. I
Yeah.
mean, who hasn't felt that pull between wanting to do good and then messing up?
Right.
It's almost comforting to know that even someone like Nephi, a prophet,
Yeah.
had these really human struggles.
Exactly.
You realize, okay, maybe it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's part of the human experience.
That's what makes this chapter so powerful.
Okay.
It's not just a list of rules or commandments. It's a glimpse into the real messy journey of faith.
Yeah.
And I think it gives us permission to be honest with ourselves about our own struggles.
Absolutely.
Because Nephi doesn't just wallow in his misery.
Right.
He shows us how to move forward.
He definitely doesn't give up.
No, he doesn't.
It's like in verses 10 through 25, you see him clinging to his faith for dear life. He talks about being sustained through wilderness, preserved on deep waters, even carried by the Spirit. It's such powerful imagery.
There's a physicality to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just some abstract idea of believing in God.
Right.
He's describing tangible experiences with divine power.
Okay.
And then there's that little detail in verse 25 where he says he was bidden not to write some of the things he saw. It makes you wonder what was so profound, so sacred, that he couldn't even put it into words.
It's like we get a peek behind the curtain into the depths of spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And then bam.
Yeah.
We hit verse 28.
Yes.
And it's a total turning point.
It is.
Nephi basically gives himself a pep talk.
Yeah.
Saying, awake, my soul.
Yeah.
No longer droop in sin. Rejoice, O my heart, and give place no more for the enemy of my soul. He recognizes the power he has to choose how he responds to his struggles.
He does.
Wow.
It's powerful. And that's what sets him apart, right?
Okay.
He doesn't just acknowledge the problem, he actively fights back.
Right.
And then in verses 31 through 33, it's like he's having this raw, honest conversation with God, pouring out his heart.
Yeah.
He asks, "O Lord, wilt thou redeem my soul? Wilt thou deliver me out of the hands of mine enemies? Wilt thou make me that I may shake at the appearance of sin?"
It's this desperate plea for help for guidance, for the strength to overcome.
Absolutely.
And that vulnerability is what makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
It's not just some perfect prophet reciting prayers.
Right.
It's a real person wrestling with doubt and fear and pleading for God's intervention. You can almost feel the intensity of his emotions.
What strikes me is that he's not just passively waiting for God to fix everything.
Right.
He's actively engaged in his faith, seeking understanding, wrestling with these difficult questions, and ultimately reaffirming his complete trust in God.
Okay.
It's a beautiful example of how our relationship with the divine can be this dynamic, evolving thing.
And it all culminates in this incredibly powerful declaration of faith in the last two verses, verses 34 and 35.
Yes.
Nephi says, "O Lord, I have trusted in thee, and I will trust in thee forever. I will not put my trust in the arm of flesh, for I know that cursed is he that putteth his trust in the arm of flesh.
Right.
Yea, cursed is he that putteth his trust in man, or maketh flesh his arm."
Powerful.
It's like he's drawing a line in the sand, saying, this is where I stand. I'm putting all my faith in God, no matter what.
It's a complete rejection of worldly power and a total commitment to spiritual strength. And when you connect that back to Lehi's blessings at the beginning of the chapter, it all clicks into place.
Yeah.
Nephi's personal faith is the embodiment of that obedience Lehi was talking about.
Okay.
It's the key to unlocking all those promised blessings.
It's like he's saying, I'm going to be the living example of what my father taught us.
Exactly.
And that sets the stage for everything that follows in his life and the lives of his descendants.
Right.
You can see how this one chapter, this personal struggle, has implications for generations to come.
And it's not just ancient history, right? This chapter has so much to say to us today.
Right.
We may not be building ships or trekking through the wilderness, but we face our own trials and temptations every day.
Absolutely.
Like when you're trying to resist that extra piece of cake or scroll through social media instead of working on that important project.
Sure.
Those everyday choices, that's our wilderness.
That's so true.
And just like Nephi, we have the power to choose faith over fear.
Right.
To wake up our souls and connect to something bigger than ourselves.
Okay.
Remember that detail about Sam inheriting the land alongside Nephi in verse 11?
Yeah, what's the significance of that?
It's a reminder that even within families, even within a chosen people, there will be those who choose different paths.
Right.
But the possibility of unity of shared blessings remains.
Okay.
It's like this little glimmer of hope amidst all the conflict we know is coming.
It makes you think about those times when you've felt divided from people you love. Maybe because of different beliefs or choices.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, like Sam and Nephi, find common ground and build something together despite those differences?
It's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to the heart of this chapter.
Okay.
Personal righteousness as the foundation for everything else.
Right.
It's not just about outward actions. It's about cultivating that inner strength, that connection to the divine that allows us to weather the storms and stay true to our values.
So it's not enough to just go through the motions, right? We have to build that inner connection that sustains us when things get tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where Nephi's example is so inspiring.
Yeah.
He doesn't pretend it's easy.
Right.
He shows us that messy, vulnerable side of faith. And yet he never loses sight of where his true strength comes from.
Which is that personal relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
Not just rules or rituals, but a genuine connection that gets him through those dark nights of the soul.
You got it.
Okay.
And that's something we can all tap into, no matter our background or beliefs.
Right.
It's that universal human desire for connection, for meaning, for something that lifts us above the challenges of everyday life.
It's about recognizing that spark of divinity within each of us and nurturing it through prayer, reflection, and acts of service.
Right.
And in a way that brings us full circle back to Lehi's blessings.
It does.
Remember how he tied prosperity to obedience?
Absolutely. It's like he was giving them the blueprint
Right.
for building a society, a life that's aligned with divine principles.
Okay.
And Nephi's journey shows us what that obedience looks like in practice.
Right.
It's not blind following.
Yeah.
It's about actively engaging with your faith, wrestling with challenges,
Right.
and ultimately choosing to trust in God even when things are hard.
So if we were to boil down 2 Nephi 4 into one key takeaway,
Okay.
what would you say it is?
I think it's this. The path of faith isn't always smooth sailing.
Okay.
There will be moments of doubt, temptation, even despair.
Right.
But like Nephi, we can choose to lean on our faith, draw strength from our connection to the divine, and come out of those trials stronger on the other side.
And maybe even a little wiser.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more compassionate.
Absolutely.
A little more willing to extend grace to ourselves and others.
Yes.
Because let's face it, we all mess up sometimes.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about the journey of becoming better, striving to align ourselves with God's will.
Okay.
And sometimes it's about remembering that even prophets have bad days. They get angry, they doubt, they struggle.
Right.
But they also show us how to rise above those challenges and find peace, even in the midst of the storm.
It's a powerful reminder that none of us are alone on this journey.
We're not.
And even in our darkest moments, there's a light to guide us, a strength to support us.
Yeah.
If we just choose to reach out for it.
Beautiful.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I feel incredibly inspired after diving into 2 Nephi 4 today.
Me too.
It's a chapter I've read countless times.
Yeah.
But this conversation has brought out so many new layers of meaning.
It just goes to show that these scriptures are living, breathing texts.
Right.
There's always something more to uncover when we approach them with open hearts and minds.
Well, that's what we're all about here on this podcast. Exploring these timeless truths and finding the wisdom that can guide us on our own personal journeys.
That's it.
So if you're ready to keep exploring and diving deeper into the scriptures, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more insightful discussions like this one.